Do you have lots of social proof in your business and you just don't know how to use it without making it feel like you're constantly just posting a before and after? Or maybe you're one of those people who feels like, I have social proof, but I've shared it all. I feel like I've put it all in marketing and now I feel like I can't reuse it, and I'm trying to find new ways to show the results that I'm getting without sounding repetitive. Well, regardless of which of these two buckets you fall into, one of the things that is crucial is, as businesses, that we know how to use the proof and the evidence that's happening inside of our world and leverage that when it comes to marketing. So if you are someone who's running low on social proof, or you've got lots and you have no idea how to use it, today's episode is going to be for you. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome back to Ambitious. Today, we are talking all things social proof. And I want to share this because I had a conversation about a week ago and someone said to me, I just feel like I know I need to show up and sell. I know I need to be promoting my offer. I know that I need to show proof of my process, proof of what the transformation is, but I literally am running out of social proof. They're like, there's only so many wins that can happen in a 72-hour period. And I feel like I don't want to keep posting the same clients or the same transformation over and over again. So how do I promote the transformation of the offer without feeling like I'm being repetitive? And it really got me thinking, because as somebody who helps people day in, day out with their marketing, one of the things that a big pain point of many businesses is how do I not run out of stuff to say? How do I not run out of things to post and always feel like things are a new, fresh perspective? So what we're going to talk about is how to leverage social proof so you, first of all, never run out of it. And second, that you never feel like you are repeating yourself. I also want to talk about this because I see a lot of people. I am on Instagram, okay? I scroll. I am on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. And I see people doing social proof in the same very rinse and repeat way of like, my client was here and then now they're here. And they're like, that's social proof. And one of the things that I feel like we need a little masterclass on, which is what today is going to be, is how to do this properly in a way that doesn't feel so boring and doesn't feel so cookie cutter. So that when someone finds your marketing, you actually stand out and you feel like it's a story that pulls you in and that you actually are excited to consume it versus feeling like it blends with everything else that they see online. So one of the things that I want to kind of break down some analogies. The first analogy is I want you to think with social proof about how you're capturing it. Okay. So one of the reasons we oftentimes will not have enough social proof is because we're not really on the prowl for looking for proof. Most people have a screenshot maybe that they take from an experience with a client. The client provides a testimonial or a review, and that is the basis of social proof. And I think that's kind of part of also why we run out, is because we're looking for these very formal ways to be able to collect it. So I want to first talk about how we can collect social proof. So I want to talk about, even in my own business, some of the ways that we do this. One of the ways that you should be collecting is thinking about, yes, testimonials. Okay. That's a very obvious one. I believe every single client that goes through your experience, given that they had a good experience with you, should be completing in some way, shape, or form a testimonial. And that's because if you are so solid and so confident about your product or your service, there should literally be no reason why you don't have raving reviews. Think about the idea of going to your favorite restaurant. If you go somewhere and you love the food, you send it to your friend and you say, I just ate here. You have got to come here with your husband. Or, hey, we should totally go here for the next girls' night. The food is incredible. You're going to tell people when you're a happy customer. The thing that I find a lot of the time is that we're not asking people for testimonials. We're not asking them for reviews. And it's actually, if I could go back and do anything more in my business, it would be to even ask for even more reviews. We have, a lot of them on our website, in our social, but I feel like I would go even further to ask for even more. And that's because I just know the power of what these do for your social proof, for your marketing, for everything. So first, you want to think, how are you collecting those? In my opinion, there's two ways to do this, which is, well, technically three. The first is during the win. So when someone's having a win and they're having momentum and they're like, oh my God, this is the best thing I could have ever purchased. I'm so happy that I joined this service or I joined this offer. Take that as an opportunity and say, hey, I'm so happy to hear that you're so excited about your results and that you're feeling so much momentum. Out of curiosity, would you be open to providing a review just of your experience and kind of, yeah, your journey during our time together? Just because I would love to share how you're feeling with other people who maybe felt the way that you felt upon joining so that they can really see from someone inside what it truly looks like or feels like. Using it at the moment of a win is a really leverageable opportunity because they're in the peak of what your transformation claimed to provide, and they're seeing that in live time right now. So you want to think about how can we capture that as early as possible connected to the win. Second place is going to be during a promotion. So I actually have done surges in our programs to say, hey, we are actually collecting during this time for current paying clients a group of testimonials. So this is basically if you are a happy customer, if you feel like you are liking the service, you're liking the experience, I'm going to link a form here. And for the next week, we're giving a bonus. The bonus can be anything. It can be if you have a group program, giving an additional one on one call as a thank you for someone taking their time to fill out this form or to give you a review. It also could be if you want to give people extra resources that maybe they don't typically have access to or that is not common for your offer. Whatever you feel that the ideal client would find most valuable. That's the rule. Do not just give away your old stuff. Okay. We're not looking to just give away something that we're dusting off in the background and handing it to our clients and calling it a bonus. This needs to be something that they actually want that would actually be supportive for them and their experience. So that's the second. The third is going to be looking at the offboarding. So when you do your offboarding process, which many of you should have established, you should have a process in there where you're asking them for a review. For us, we do offboarding interviews where we basically ask a series of questions and we get feedback and all these pieces. And one of the things that I then do is say, hey, I'm so happy that you enjoyed your experience. With that, I was curious, would you be open or would you be willing or interested in providing a review just to kind of share with other people as to, yeah, how it felt for you, aha moments, clarity points, any of that. And I have rarely had people that have said no to that. And that's because many people who are happy with your offer are going to, as I said, want to tell other people. So what I look at with testimonials is making sure, are we even asking for them? Because I will be honest with you, which is shocking to me. I know people who have been in business for the better part of 10 years who have no testimonials. They have nobody else that is willing to put their name behind their brand. And to me, it's such a missed opportunity, especially in today's current market, because I'm sure you even feel this. So many people are on edge. So many people are in this feeling or perspective of not trusting. You've been burned so many times by past investments. Everyone says that they can help you, but you're kind of not really sure who to trust. And this is really a way to be able to say, okay, great. Who can I trust in this? Who should I invest with? And not just they say they're great, but I want their clients to say they're great. And so that's why I find reviews are really, really powerful. So I was explaining actually to a client that what we do is we take those reviews and we actually have what's called like a wins channel, which is basically just a place where we dump all the reviews, all the social proof that happens in our world. So, a couple things happen in the Slack channel, okay? Number one, all the responses of the testimonial forums, they go there. So these are like, this is like a wins channel that we can use for anything at any moment for marketing. So all of the wins go in there from the testimonials. The second thing is that all of the screenshots. So like when you're in communication with somebody who's a client and they share like, "Oh my god, I had my biggest month ever," or "Oh my god, I, had this crazy win that happened this week." What we can do is we can screenshot that and also put that in that channel. Okay? So we've got our testimonials, our screenshots. The third is also case studies. So oftentimes you're going to what I call witness like in the wild social proof. Basically what that means is it's social proof that maybe isn't so obvious. Someone's not giving it to you as a very formal delivery, but it's something that when they say it, you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's such a good line," or "It's such a good win," or "It's just such a good takeaway." So oftentimes I'll go to the Slack channel and I'll literally put in like client name, here's what they expressed, here's what their win was. They're feeling really excited about blank. And I will start to literally make notes of what the share was. That's perfect information for a case study because it allows our marketing side to take that and put it as a case study on the website, put it in a case study on social media, thinking about how they can leverage that for us without me necessarily having to sit down and think, okay, what was all the wins that happen inside of our world? The other way, which is also a great way if you are someone who likes AI, is to have AI take all your transcripts of your coaching calls, of your group calls, your one on ones, your team meetings, even if you're an agency and you have like a round table that reviews your clients. Great time to take that transcript and to run it through AI because it means that as you review the clients and the transformations that they're having, you can use that transcript and put it through a prompt to gather social proof and take that response and put it in the channel as well. So, what this channel does, and again, you can organize it however you want, that's just how we do it. This channel is really designed to be a dumping ground for social proof. This is the place where if I need to tell a story of the transformation of our offer, if we need a specific piece, that we really want to accentuate a certain part of our offer that we're really proud of, this is the place where we're going to gather that. This is the place where we're going to do it. So, this is for us where we pull the social proof from. Now, someone asked a really great question to me and they said, but how do you make sure that if your team is gathering social proof or if your team is adding to this channel, that it's also effective stuff, that it's also things that you feel like you can leverage in the future? And what I tell people is if you have your team that's gathering social proof for you, which by the way, if you have team members working with clients, they should 100% be gathering social proof for you. In some instances, we even create like a structure for team compensation wise that will help them to know that they want to gather more social proof. So let's just say it's like for every client testimonial you bring me, we're going to add X amount to your monthly retainer that we work with or your salary, because this is a way that if you get us proof, we can use that proof in marketing to generate more revenue. So it is a revenue generating activity. So if you have team, you should 100% be incentivizing them to gather that proof from inside your ecosystem, especially if you're not in the day-to-day operations of every single part of the business that happens, okay? So when we do that, we're going to be getting all this proof. The team's going to be in there gathering it. And I tell people add context. We want to think what was the before state, what was the middle state, and what was the end state in two lenses, which we're going to get into. What was the emotional transformation and what was the logistical transformation? Okay. So that's just the kind of cue that I want you to think for your team. But overall, what we need to start with is getting the social proof. It's great for us to leverage it, and I'm going to teach you how to use it, but you have to have it to begin with. And if you are waiting only for people to just offer you a testimonial, for people to just send you a Slack message and be like, well, that's the only way I can get social proof. I can just wait for the email or the report that they send. You have to be mining for social proof at all times. Because if you just wait for the formal approach and you have this very narrow perspective of how it's going to come to you, you're going to miss out on 70% of the things that you could be marketing around your offer and your transformation. Okay. So, first, we want to gather it. The second thing we want to do is we want to get context, as I said. So, when we get context, what I mean by that is I want to start to tease it out. And by tease it out, I mean, let's get details. Okay. You and I both know, and it's part of why I don't love screenshots in marketing. Screenshots don't tell the whole story. Like you and I have both seen someone who's like, oh, I made this much money. And your brain goes to like, okay, you made that much money, but of that amount of money, how much of that was profit? How much of that was expenses? How much of that was from ads? We have so many questions, right? Or someone sees a transformation with a client and you start to ask yourself, well, great that that person's business blew up, but what size was their following? How long have they been in business? How long has their brand been around? We instantly have this kind of tendency as consumers to start to pick apart these social proof and this screenshot. And that's because it's not context. It doesn't give us any context. And it's honestly, I think, part of why when people post social proof of screenshots, they're so confused when it doesn't work. And that's because in a day and age where people have literally so little trust in brands and in proof, we have had, videos and pictures that have been face-tuned and edited. We've got people who are inflating numbers, giving no context, who are only telling one side of the story, not both. And as a result, as consumers, we want the full picture. We want the full context. And so this is an opportunity for you to get that. So when you have any kind of social proof, okay, that testimonial, that screenshot, that call with a client, I just want you to flush it out for a second and tease it out. These are questions I want you to think about. So Get specifics on the person themselves. This is really important because when you are marketing social proof, just saying like, Sarah hit this goal is not great because it doesn't give the person that's consuming the social proof any way for them to see themselves within it. Okay. So, one of the things that we like in society is to see ourselves in things. It's why a lot of the time we even talk about having, specific guidelines around marketing, creating inclusion. Why? Because we want to see ourselves in marketing. We want to see ourselves identified. We want to see ourselves mirrored back in the things that we're investing into. Now, yes, this can be in things for sure, like diversity, but it also can be in other things, like the title of the type of people you work with. So, say I am somebody who primarily myself, I work with coaches, consultants, and agencies. Okay. That's like my main demographic. I have some authors, podcast hosts, all of that. But generally speaking, that's kind of like my bread and butter. If I have someone who comes to me and they have a candle company and they see on my website, coach consultant agency, and they see it all over, they're going to know instantly this is not for them because they're going to recognize none of these people have products. On the contrast, if a coach comes to my website and or they're an agency and they come to my website and they're thinking, okay, is this the person for me? And they start to consume and they start to scroll, they learn very quickly, yeah, she's the person for me because she helps people scale to multiple 6 and 7 figures and she's helping coaches, consultants, and agencies. So, what we want is someone to see themselves in their title. It can definitely be literally in the visual of themselves. So, that's why I always recommend wherever you can, including pictures of your clients or pictures of the type of people that you work with. So people can see themselves. Do you work with big teams, individuals, different ages, all of these different things. And then I also include stage. Okay. So an example of this would be if I join a gym and for example, just a couple months back, I joined a CrossFit gym. And one of the concerns I had because I was chilling on the couch up until that point is I wanted to make sure that I went to a gym that was not only going to be good for people who are more advanced, i.e., that they've been working out forever, but also for people who are maybe a little bit newer to CrossFit. And so, what I went to their website to see is what was the stage of the person in the gym, because you've got two CrossFit gyms, okay? You've got like the CrossFit pros, the people who are literally doing competitions and moving their bodies in ways I've never seen before. And on the flip side, you've also got the beginners who go to CrossFit to get a workout, but they're not really necessarily interested in doing competitions or anything like that. So, when you see self identifying information of stage, what it does is it creates some safety for the person who's there to say, okay, my stage is here. My type of business is here. The type of person that I am is here. So we want that self-identifier. We want to flesh out like, who is this person? Is there a name for their role? Is there a certain industry that they're in? Is there a certain way you work together? Right? That's another question. When I even myself talk about clients that I've helped to get to 7 figures, what's everyone's first question? Well, what offer were they in? So on my website, you can literally filter our testimonials by what offer they were in and how we supported them. Were they a one-on-one client? Were they an accelerator client? And that's intentional because I want people to recognize that, yes, this person left a review. This is their name. This is their type of business. And this is the offer that we got for them. Here's the best part. We also tell people how they can consume the social proof. So on our website, you can choose a testimonial that's video. You can choose a written testimonial. You can choose any format that you want to pick what format and what program and what industry you're looking for. So this is really where we help people to give them an ease in finding themselves within the social proof. It's a really important piece, okay? Now, the next thing I want you to ask yourself in getting details around this social proof that you've been given or that you've found is, where were they before? Like, what was the situation before, the problem before, the feeling before? What was the reality before you like for them? And again, I want you in your brain to think about this in 2 different ways: emotionally and logistically. I'm going to give you an example. Say I'm going to go hire a weight loss coach. I am going to go emotional first. Where was I before? It could be feeling uncomfortable in my own skin. It could be lacking confidence, feeling frustrated and overwhelmed because nothing seems to work. feeling like I have defeated because I've had the same goal for 3 years, but feel like I haven't made movement on it, right? So they're all feeling pieces. Logistical. I probably am not able to fit in my pants anymore. I've gained 20 pounds. I am tired and feel like I don't have any energy and my body aches all the time. And I am putting on weight faster now than I ever have before. And I don't know what to do. And I'm going to the gym 3 times a week, but I'm not seeing progress. Right. So that's like literally what am I doing? Like logistically, what am I seeing and what am I doing? I can't fit in my pants that I used to fit into, and I'm going to the gym and I'm not seeing progress. On the contrast, emotionally, I am defeated. I'm overwhelmed. I'm frustrated. I'm annoyed. I am sad. I'm disheartened. I'm angry. You're going to call out those emotions and look at what do they feel and then what are they experiencing? Okay. So think emotional is feeling, logistical is what they're experiencing. We need to know the current state in both buckets. What I see a lot of the time is people will pick one. They'll say like, "Oh, they went from frustrated to clear," or they went from overwhelmed to like calm and grounded. And it's great, but when we just have the emotional, it doesn't really help anybody who's a more logistical buyer who really wants to understand, okay, that's great that they were overwhelmed, but like what were they doing before? Is that what I'm doing? And they're trying to again see themselves within it. So we want to get an understanding of what is this current state. When we're going to go market social proof, we need to tease out the current state, both emotionally and logistically. Now, then I want you to think about what specifically shifted and what specifically changed with this person. So, again, logistically, actions that they took, moves that they made, try to be really, really specific. Like if you think about a client, maybe even in your mind right now, someone that you feel like is doing super well right now, and you see that you're going to think about their social proof. Okay, well, where were they before? We got that. What have you been doing with them? What are you helping them with? What are you working through? And if you want to get like A plus level in this, walk me through it in order of how you did it. So they came to you, and what did you start with? Well, first we got them organized because it was a mess. Okay, great. Then second, we built them a strategy. Okay, great. Then we integrated that, and what we found was X. Perfect. Then because of finding that, we started to change, A, B, and C. Great. Like you're walking through what I have found, executed, done, integrated that has gotten that person the progress that they're seeing. And then we are going to look for that end result. Again, let's remember, we want the end result emotionally, and we also want it logistically. So this is even relevant for the women that I work with, right? Because when I work with women who go to multiple 6 and 7 figures, one of the things that many of them say to me is, I want to have a 7-figure business. And listen, I'll help you any day of the week to build a 7-figure business, okay? But the thing that I also ask is, what would that look like? And I ask that question because I think many women want 7 figures. And obviously, if that's the thing that I am promising to people or, having as the outcome promise in my marketing, then I have to say, okay, yeah, I can help you hit 7 figures. But one of the other things that I don't think enough people talk about is what does 7 figures look like? What does it feel like? And can we describe that when someone hits it, right? So, like when someone has a 7-figure business, they typically have a level of confidence, a level of clarity, a level of understanding, a level of structure, systems, identity. There's like a list of things that start to come together. And so, what I look for is when I help someone to achieve this great result, what was the emotional feeling they had when they got there? And what was the logistical reality they started to have happen to them? So logistical might be for 7 figures, you have leads that are coming in every week and you're closing sales, every month over and exceeding your targets. Okay, great. On the contrast, it's confidence, it's calm, it's groundedness, structure, freedom. Those are emotion words. The other is logistical outcomes. So remember, who's the person, where they start, what'd you do with them, and where they end up. Now, remember, all of those are just mining the social proof, meaning we're just teasing it out. Okay. We're just teasing it out. We haven't gotten to how we're going to use it yet, but I need you to have all the ingredients. So when it comes time to put this recipe together, you've got it. The last piece is, do you have a piece of proof? So hence social proof, but social proof is not always tangible proof. Tangible proof is a bonus, but I don't want to start with tangible proof. And that's because, as I said, You're going to have clients that have an incredible transformation with you, but you don't have proof of it because they mentioned it on a call in passing. There's no screenshot, there's no testimonial, there's no crazy before and after. You're just like, I really want to tell the story because it's so incredible what they've built. Amazing. But we don't have proof. So you want to think about if you can get proof via a screenshot, a quote, a before and after, a picture, anything like that. If you can find it, amazing. If you can't, it's not a huge deal. We can still absolutely use it when it comes to marketing. Okay. So you want to first, step one, get the info. Okay. Get the info of the social proof that you have. So hopefully you have some structure, as I said earlier, to getting this proof in your world. But then once you have it, we're going to tease it out and get some more details around it. The next is that we're then going to think about picking the way that you want to showcase this proof. So again, are we going to showcase the testimonial? Are we going to showcase a screenshot? Are we going to showcase a before and after of a transformation? Or are we going to share a client case study or a story of the client, meaning that we don't, again, have proof, but we're going to tell a story instead? So when we think about where we take that, so now we've got the ingredients, we've picked kind of how we want to deliver this, the format that we're going to use. I want to help to walk you through 4 different storylines, okay? These 4 storylines, I want to be really honest with you. If you can master the 4 storylines I'm going to teach you about social proof, you will never run out. You will have all of your marketing feel totally different than your competitors, and you will make way more sales in your business. And that is because nobody is doing social proof like this in most of the internet online today. Okay. So the first that we want to think about is the objection social proof. So I'm going to list these out so you have them. There's 4: objection, emotional, logistical, and identity. Okay. So we're going to break down each one a little bit in specific. Objection. You want to look at creating a piece of social proof where the purpose of the storyline of how you're telling the story, okay, is that you're going to tell it from the lens of the objection. And here's how I want you to think about these storylines. People are like, well, what do you mean tell a story? The analogy that I give to people is that you want to think about yourself like a newscaster, okay? So a newscaster gets like this data sheet, and they're basically going to get an overview of all the events that have happened, and they then get to broadcast and tell a story of those events. This is also why you will see different news stations with the same information that have a different delivery of that information. One can be just stating as a fact. The other one can be high emotion, which again, emotion versus logic. One can be a lot of energy around it. One can be a passing bulletin, right? There's not a lot of energy around it. The information is not what makes it powerful. It's about you as the news broadcaster that brings that story to life. So we're going to bring that story to life in 4 different ways, okay? The first, as I said, is objection. So you want to lead with this client that you're going to talk about. Did they have a fear? Did they have a resistance? Did they have a part of them that had doubt or uncertainty that they were not going to get a result, or that they shouldn't invest, that now wasn't the right time, that they've been burned before and they were maybe, considering just DIYing it for a while? Think back to this client that you may have in your mind right now, and what did they have as the resistance or the doubt, the overwhelm that could have blocked them from moving forward, okay? What we want to do with this piece is and I'm going to tell you in a second how to structure this if you want to put it into a post. But the reason that we do this is we're trying to have a way for skeptical buyers, people who've been burned, people who are price sensitive, people who are skeptic in some way, shape, or form, and say, what would a skeptic think? And how can I use this social proof to help that skeptic to see it from a different lens, or to see that it is untrue? This is one of the most effective ways to quote unquote overcome objections. Most people, when they're overcoming objections, look to say, like, here's why you should invest with yourself. Here's why this is the time to move. Here's why. And you kind of preach at people on what you want them to do. And instead of trying to push objection handling on people, pull them. Use a story to pull that person in to reading and using it as an entertainment factor. And when you do, then what we can do is we can use the story of your client, and we can have that social proof speak to the fact that that client was also scared. That client had also been burned. that client was also unsure, and you're going to weave in the objection into this story. So instead of you having a post of like why you should invest with yourself, talk about Sarah, who, you were her first purchase into a coach, or you were her first delegation into an agency, and that she was super nervous and she wasn't sure if it was the right move. And, she had been told to try to DIY it on her own first, but she kind of felt like that wasn't right, but didn't know what to do instead. That's the true story that we're telling. So the first is going to be pieces where you take a social proof piece and you say, okay, this client, did they have an objection before they started with me? And if they've got great results now, we're going to tell that story. Okay. The second, which is why I asked you earlier on to gather and think about the emotional side of social proof. That is because when we are buying anything, we always initially buy with emotion and we justify with logic. Okay. So, anybody, like, there's different types of buyers, as you know. We have our 4 different buyer types. They fall into 2 categories. One is a little bit more logistical and one is more emotional. This is also why, conveniently, you have different categories of what you're getting from social proof, which is emotional and logistical. That's because you can use the same individual client and talk about their story 4 ways, and it allows in all those 4 ways to speak to different types of buyers and different scenarios that you're trying to overcome, like objections, emotional, logistical, etc. So when you have a piece of social proof and you're telling it from an emotional lens, the goal of this is that many people who are watching your marketing right now are struggling in feeling. Like, they're feeling something every day. They're feeling resistance. They're feeling overwhelmed. They're feeling frustration. And what they want is that feeling to go away. So maybe when they wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and they're worried about their business, maybe they're not thinking about, oh, I need 10K today. They're thinking, man, I just wish that leads would come in. I'm so frustrated and just overwhelmed by all the things that I'm doing and nothing feels like it's working. That's what they feel. They don't feel a funnel. They don't feel a strategy. They feel the reality that they're sat there with when they're feeling their emotions about the problem they're experiencing. So we want to tap into, what are those feelings? What are the things that people are sitting with and that they're experiencing in this client, and what were they going through, and how can we tell that story? Right? So when I have a client who has, incredible results, that's amazing, but that's also a logistical win. That's a strategic win. That's an analytical win. And what I want to do is I want to show people that, yes, they've had these wins, but also that they weren't always in this place. They struggled with confidence before. They had imposter syndrome. They had overwhelm. They had doubt. That's what they were feeling. And yes, they have this win, but that's how they were feeling before. Now let's look at how they're feeling now. So we're emphasizing the emotion of what they were navigating. The third is logistical. Okay. So name the specific before and after only in logical terms or analytical terms. What I mean by that is, okay, say I help someone to get to 7 figures. I'm going to say beforehand, what was their marketing beforehand? What were they doing in sales? We're just talking about behaviors, strategy, structure. We're removing and we're going to strip emotion out of it. We're going to pull the emotion out of it. Okay. This is because people who are more analytical in nature are going to want those nuts and bolts. They're going to want to understand, what was this person doing and trying and attempting previously versus what they're doing, trying now, or what the outcome was now. So it's all about logistical pieces, nothing connected to emotion. And lastly, and this is the one that everybody misses, but it is probably one of the most important things if you want to have people who come to you completely pre-sold and ready to work with you. Identity. Every person in their marketing is often telling people what to do instead of who to become. Because if people become someone, they will do. If you teach them to do, they don't always become. They can follow the steps. Okay. So, what I heard as a quote from one of my coaches, and it was like one of the best one-liners, was, your job with your free content is to help your current audience to become your ideal client. And I was like, yes, because For me, even when I work with people, and I love my clients who have that true CEO brain. Like they care about strategy, they really care about their business. They're not looking at it as this kind of, hobby or side hustle, that they're not very like driven or have these big ambitious goals. They are so driven. They are like pedal to the metal. They take no BS from anybody, and they just really are like yeah, they push. The thing is, if I want to call in that level person, I need to speak about how the people in my world are those people. I need to talk about the identity of how someone shifted in my world. And I even will post social proof about this. I had a testimonial from a client who is now a dear friend of mine. And, when she was a client, she said, she's like, I had this crazy transformation in private coaching. And she said in it, she's like, one of the biggest things that shifted though is that like I actually started to become a CEO. Like I feel like I scaled the business rapidly, but I feel like I actually became a business owner during this experience. And that for me was the unlock for so many other women who followed her, which is to say, yeah, it's not just about the idea that, oh, okay, well, I'm going to, you know, get this outcome with Kate. I'm going to make money, or I'm going to get leads, or I'm going to get sales. Yes, you're going to get those things. But the thing is, those happen for her because her identity shifted. When she started to see things differently, she started to act differently. She started to take actions differently. She started to solve problems differently. And so, what I did is I told the story of how she evolved, and then everything evolved around her. And that helps people to recognize that the unlock is in them. So we want to, as bucket number 4, speak to identity. Who do they have to become, not just what they can achieve? For the social proof you have, talk about who did this person become, not just what they achieved. Because here's the thing that I think is like so important for us to anchor onto. When I hire a fitness coach, I'm not just hiring a fitness coach to help me to lose 10 pounds. Like, okay, great. Like I could do that. But the real reason that we're hiring a fitness coach is because you're somebody who wants to be fit. Generally speaking, that's why we're hiring a fitness coach, is because you want to be somebody who is fit. You want to be somebody who works out. You want to be someone who takes care of their health. You have a certain identity of a version of you, a phase of you, a person that you want to become. And so when you are showing people through social proof what this person that they want to become can do, like this is what's possible for you, this is the future for you, that helps people to truly unlock, okay, wow, that's what I want. That's who I want to be. Not just the result, but the person. Like again, as I said, for me, people want to have a 7-figure business, but I think as much as having a 7-figure business, many of us have this perception of who we will become by having a 7-figure business, right? Like you might see somebody who has the business that you want, who has the reality you want, and you think like, man, that's what I want. But like, do you want her number? Do you want her marketing? Do you want her sales process? Or do you kind of want to like embody her energy, her way of moving, her behavior, her habits? If that's what you're excited about, you're really buying into who you're becoming, not the thing itself. So there's a piece of this which is so big, which is identity. We need to ensure that we're leveraging social proof to help our audience to see who it is that they can become. Okay. So what I'm going to do is kind of break down an example of each of how you can apply this. So first is objection. I want you to call out the objection in ways that they said it. So, if someone's like, I just had a conversation actually with somebody today. They said, well, I'm not sure if today's the right time to move forward, is what this person had said to her, because that person was pregnant and had a baby on the way. And she's like, I just don't know if I'm gonna have time. And so I would start with, she came to me wondering, because she was having a baby, is this the right time? Right? You call it out directly. I'm super busy. I don't have a lot of time. And I just wonder if maybe I should put it off until next round. You want that specificity of language in there, not just, oh, she was trying to wait or decide if now is the time. Speak about the reality of what she was navigating. Speak about the specifics of how that person, before she became a client, how'd she describe it? Then talk about that before state, right? Where were they? What was their situation? What was their hesitation? What almost stopped that person from starting with you? What was the resistance that they experienced? And what did they do anyway in order? Like what was the first decision? What unlocked for them? And like even if I was going to tell this story, I'll kind of ad lib here for you so you can see an example. So, okay, I have a client. She came to me and same thing. She came to me wanting to build a 7-figure business. And when she did, she said to me, same thing. I am really busy. I'm navigating a lot of personal stuff and I'm just worried that I don't know if I'm going to have time to dedicate to the time and energy toward this that I would want to. And I said, "Okay, how many like hours are you going to be providing to your business?" And she said, "Okay, well on average I want to do 15 a week." And I said to her, "Okay, well then wouldn't it be better to know how to leverage those 15 hours in your business every week to actually grow than burn through them and just see them happen every week but stay in the same situation?" The reality is if you're already going to be working 15 hours a week, wouldn't you want to know what to be doing with it? And so she said, "You know what? You're right. That there's no answer to that. That's true. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have more hours to put in, but also if I had the same hours, I can get a very different output from those." So she joined. So when she joined, she was nervous. She was unsure. She was anxious. She was on edge. But what we did is we helped her to focus on needle moving activities, to really only look at what we could do to get as much momentum as possible, as fast as possible. So we looked at A, B, C, and D. And since then, she's been able to achieve X result or X outcome. You might include like a screenshot or a quote from her. This is really to show that yes, your life can be really busy and you can have tons of things going on. But the reality is, unless you are going to stop running your business and you're turning it off, you're already spending hours on your business. You're already having time that you're going to the gym. So why not make sure with the limited time that you have and the precious time that you have, you're actually getting momentum and outcome out of that you want to be seeing? That is what's considered to be an objection piece of social proof. Okay. So you'll see I called it the objection. I walked through a little bit about how she overcame that. And then I talk a little bit of our process and then where she is now. And I reinstate the objection at the end. Now we're going to go to the emotional. Emotional is how did they feel? Okay. So how did they feel before? What did it look like in their world? And I'll kind of give you an example of this. I have a client actually right now. She came to me and she felt like the best kept secret in her industry. And it was this confidence in knowing that she really knew what she was doing, paired with that she was so frustrated because she recognized that there were literally peers out there who knew half of what she did and got half the level of results, who had all of the acknowledgement and all of the fame. And she was frustrated and she was disappointed because she felt like if she had been more consistent, if she had been louder, if she had been more out there as a brand, that wouldn't have happened. And so she would doom scroll. At night, she would literally be sitting there watching their socials, scrolling their Instagram, saving their posts as inspiration, and feeling like I have to do something because I know they're not as good as me. And she instantly was falling into comparison. Almost so much so that it made her step back from her business, wondering, is this even a fight that I want to fight? I.e., the person who has the best service doesn't always win. And was frustrated that people just who are good marketers but not great at serving were the people who were getting clients. And what we did is then we basically looked at, okay, that was her reality. Setting the scene, looking at the conversation. What I had her acknowledge is that the only difference between her and her competitors is that her competitors were willing to be seen in the messy and she wasn't. And until she was open to being seen and putting herself out there as a brand and, posting more and being more visible, that there was physically no way that she was going to overcome this reality with her competitors because she had to put herself out there first. So she put herself out there. She was nervous. She was like, okay, like, am I going to stand out enough? Am I doing it too similar to them, etc.? Now she's been able to actually figure out her brand positioning, figure all the pieces that she's doing in her marketing and in her brand. And now she doesn't even follow any of her competitors. She isn't doom scrolling at all and almost is never on her phone. She's at this place where she feels like a groundedness and a confidence in where she is because she knows exactly what her approach is. So it makes all of the other approaches literally become irrelevant. And she's so crystal clear in her own marketing that she doesn't fall into comparison anymore because she recognizes that she was comparing to a totally different strategy and oftentimes one that wasn't even actually working for the person she was following. So it's looking at the feeling. How did this person's feeling shift, right? Like what changed about the feeling they had before me and the feeling that they had after me? And what did that experience look like for them? Now, the logistical, okay? Logistical, again, remember, analyze nuts and bolts. Client came to me. She was living on Instagram. She was posting 5 times a day, a, hour-long, long form a week. She was on stories every day. She was in her DMs all the time. She was constantly on calls, and she thought there's got to be another way, and became really frustrated by this. So basically, we built a system that really leaned into a delegation and repurposing. And now she is on Instagram less than 1 hour a day. She's got consistent leads, consistent sales happening, people that are renewing inside her offers, and she has doubled her monthly revenue since we started working together. You'll notice that a lot of that is what she was doing, what she's doing with me, what she's doing now, and how much money she made. There's not a lot of feeling in that explanation. That's intentional because we're not trying to focus on emotion in that. We're trying to focus on the logistical or the analytical portion of it. And like that client, so I'll kind of make this one brief, like that client I mentioned to you, which is the one who came to me and said, I feel like I became a CEO. She came into my Zoom room and I remember her saying, I really want to hit 7 figures. And I said, listen, let's do it. Like, I'm ready if you're ready. And she said to me, I just want to start working on my business and not just in it. And I said, okay, great. What makes you say that? She goes, I don't really feel like I'm operating my business. I don't feel like I'm a CEO. And I said, okay. So we leaned into really helping her to understand, what does it mean to be a CEO of your business? And when we did, what that meant is she started to change her morning routine. She started changing the way that she would get upset when a client reached out. She would regulate. She would actually start to get an understanding of what she needed to do each day to show up as the version of herself that was going to have that 7-figure business. She made decisions quicker and calmer. She made plans and followed them versus kind of following the new trend of what was the it thing that week or that month. And her results showed for it. She basically was able to go from a 6-figure business to a 7-figure business in less than a year. And in doing so, her biggest takeaway was that she actually felt like a CEO, that she was not any longer this like Instagram business, but she actually felt confident that she knew how to run the business in a calm, grounded way that she controlled, not the business controlling her. Right? So it's about her identity shifting. It's not about the before and after of money. It's not the before and after of feeling. It's about, how did her identity change? How did who she was change as a result of being in my world? So I want you to remember that there are only 4 ways that you should be telling every single lens of social proof, which is either through the lens of, am I accentuating an objection? Am I accentuating the emotion of this? Am I highlighting the logistics, i.e. the strategic transformation? Or am I showing the identity of how somebody has transformed? And if you take nothing else from today, I want you to remember that the proof and the results that are happening in your world are only as effective to the level of which you're marketing them. Okay? The social proof in your world is only as effective to the level of which you are marketing them. Meaning, you can have great results inside your offer. Your clients can be crushing. You can feel like, oh my God, this is so good. If nobody outside of your current internal ecosystem knows that those results are happening, it does not matter. It's not doing anything to generate new awareness, new leads, new sales for you. So I want you to promise me something, that you're going to not just take this as, yeah, you know what, I should do more social proof, but pick one. As you're leaving here, pick one. Is it analytical? Is it emotional? Is it identity? Or is it an objection? And I want you to think of a client that's crushing right now in your world and pick a lens and go put up a piece of social proof in the next 48 hours. Because the level of how much you should be marketing social proof, on average, to be honest, is around 3 times a week. Depending on your marketing ecosystem, it depends on what platforms you're on, etc. But generally speaking, you can be marketing social proof up to 3 times a week. The only reason that you're not is because you're telling yourself you don't have enough, or you're saying, I've already used that and I can't post it again, which is not true. It's a matter of, we need to become that newscaster who knows actually how to tell the story in a fun, creative, and engaging way. Okay? So let this be your invitation to go get posting your social proof, because you're kicking ass with your clients, and the people in your marketing and your sales need to know that's happening, because you right now have people on the edge of their seat who want to work with you, who need proof of someone like them, proof that someone else understands how they're emotionally feeling, proof of the result that logistically is possible for them, or proof of that identity of who they can become by joining you inside your world as a coach, as an agency. Let this be your invitation to go post that thing to get the person off the edge. I had a client who did this last week. She posted some really strategic social proof that we told her to put up. And with this, she was like, Kate, like they're moving. I'm like, exactly, because they need to feel seen in what you're sharing, not just, ooh, we got this person a result, but the true story behind it. So take this as your social proof masterclass, get to your marketing and get this out. And I can't wait to see some of these posts showing up on social so I can give you all the love. As always, I want to say a massive thank you for all of you who are tuning into our Ambitious podcast every single Thursday. It means the absolute world. And I also want to let you know that we have some really cool stuff that's coming out. We have a new kind of like segment, I guess you would say, series that we may keep around because I'm having so much fun doing it. It's such a blast. We have some really cool, incredible guests that are coming up, a new format to the show, and just like a lot of new fun stuff and new energy that I cannot wait to dive into with you. So anyway, all that to be said, stay tuned and we will see you on next week's episode. And as always, stay ambitious.